I got out of the way early. Last time I was the late one.
What do you mean wipe my server? You mean take a cloth and wipe it?
Did he?
That just drives me nuts. She thinks people are stupid.
That'd be a yes, Mark.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
Everybody all set?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to bring this council meeting for February 2nd. Order, please. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Twyla.
Yes. Councillor Albert?
Here.
Councillor Colby?
Here.
Councillor Ward?
Here.
Councillor McTevier?
Here.
Councillor Bickford?
Here.
And Councillor Crafts?
Here.
And Councillor Brunel.
Here.
That's the last one. Next item.
Good news and recognition.
Be on your side.
I got some. I'd like to applaud the efforts of a student at Lisbon High School by the name of Kane Strout. He took it upon himself to actually initiate a sock drive. He actually got over 400 pairs of socks that are actually going to be donated to people within the community. I thought that was kind of cool. I'd like to thank the Lisbon Recreation Department, Positive Change Lisbon, Troop 109, and everybody else that had a hand in Winterfest at Beaver Park a couple of weekends ago. I know the article was in the paper, referenced 140 people, but I think that number comes from those that actually took the dog sledding. It was probably closer to 300 people, what the department estimated. It was an excellent event. And I'd like to congratulate the Lisbon School Boosters, the wrestling team, and anybody that had a hand in that. They hosted a mid-state wrestling tournament this past weekend, the first time in the history of the school and the wrestling program, and the team placed fourth overall. It was a great weekend to be a Greyhound.
Good. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say that I went to the Winterfest at Beaver Park, and everybody had a great time. You know, the adults were going on the dog sled rides, and they had a tremendous time, and there was a lot of people there. I agree with Alan. I think probably closer to 300 people. And, you know, LL Bean was there with the snowshoes, and they had a great success. For a first event, it exceeded their expectations. So I think it can be even bigger and better next year. So it was great. It was fun.
Definitely a nice partner to cultivate a relationship with, for sure.
I have something. The food drive that we held, what was it, the 24th? Turnout was excellent. We stuffed the truck, and just the magnitude of people that turned out and donated it was tremendous. And I want to remind everybody that it ends February 26th. So we're still collecting donations throughout the town, and 50% of what's collected will stay in this community. So if you haven't donated and wish to, there's a box here and a few others, I think at the credit union and
Both schools.
yeah, at the elementary school and the high school.
Good. Anything else? Okay. Next item, Twyla.
There is no public hearings. It would be audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody? Larry, you're going to give me a heart attack. You guys don't listen, so there's no need to. Okay. Well, thank you for your response. Okay. Next item, Twyla.
Consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Order 2016-12 to approve the minutes of January 19, 2016.
I found some errors in that. I noticed on agenda item 2016-08, the municipal budget schedule, where it says motion to move.
Do you want to just table it to the next meeting?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll just send me the corrections and then we'll put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
Sounds fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Next item.
Council orders, resolutions, and ordinances. Order 2016-13 tax acquired redemption letters.
On January 19th, we foreclosed on the 5 properties that I have listed in the summary. So I just want to take the next step in the process, like what we did with the sewer.
Page 11.
Page 11. Thank you, Chris. Which would be to authorize me to send out a 30-day notice of redemption to the tax-acquired tax property owners of record, allowing them 30 days to pay all the real estate taxes and any fees owed on property in full by the end of that 30-day redemption, and to accept the funds until council takes action to dispose of the property and to issue a quitclaim deed when payment is made in full. That worked well with the sewer because I ended up collecting on all 7 of those.
I need a motion.
Make a motion that we move forward with it.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Next item, Koala.
Order 2016-14 to solicit bids for the town insurance.
It's been 7 years since the town has gone out for bid on the insurance and services listed in the packet here. It's mainly your property and casualty.
Who was that?
Still 11.
Who was that? I didn't hear the company.
Oh, we're with the Rogers, our shampoo insurance,
Okay,
Rogers
thank you.
agency now. So anyway, for this to take effect July 1st, we really need to start the process now. It's a long process. We'll start it now, and it probably will not come back to council to the end of April or 1st of May for a bid award.
How long a contract are you looking at?
I'm looking at least 5 years.
I got no issue with that. I'll make that motion if there's no other discussion.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Next item. Well,
Order 2016-15, the purchasing policy amendment.
Since the agenda packet was put together, I have, with Alan's help, have further revised the purchasing policy amendment, and I did give you a handout with that tonight. So I'm striking most of the language that we have put in here, and then replaced it with G, which says, I'll read it so the audience can hear what it is. Purchases by competitive bidding waiver. The requirement of competitive bidding may be waived by a vote of the council upon recommendation by the town manager when he or she determines that quality, expertise, time factors, or other important considerations outweigh the possible benefits of bidding or requesting proposals. The competitive bidding requirement may not be waived when legally required by a contract, grant, award, or other types of financial assistance. This includes awards made by the state of Maine, federal government, county government, or any other agency providing assistance to the town where competitive bidding is required. Additionally, competitive bidding may not be waived by the town or any of its departments when required by state or federal statute, rule, or regulation.
I need a motion to,
Make a motion that we accept it as it has been amended.
need a second?
Second.
Discussion.
The 2 topics there, I like the revision associated with that. It's the first paragraph is language that you'll find in the purchasing policy by the school department, with the exception of requiring a vote of the council. And the second paragraph actually is a requirement on the federal level for what we can or can't do, so it addresses both topics.
Yes, do I inject, I need a vote? All in favor? or-
Do you, yes, it is just a regular vote.
Okay.
And those opposed, none? Order passed 7-0.
Next item.
Order 2016-16, Munis software.
I'll let Ed start with this.
Thank you. My name is Ed Karras, and here to speak in support of entering into an agreement for software as a service with Munis. I thought that we had laid out a pretty clear and consistent case that the software is needed. We have not only outgrown Trio software, but as we did our research, and specifically some research on Trio's performance itself, we found that we still have requests for service that have gone unaddressed since 2013. And I can't remember how many service calls that we actually counted up over the last few years that we had not only called for service once, but called on the same issue more than once, and have not successfully 100% been able to remediate those calls. I had provided you folks with some information later on back in the packet. On my work that I had undertaken on looking at a software program to replace the current vendor. We are looking for a software program that, number one, will perform consistently on a daily basis without constant calls for help and service. One of the bigger problems that we have with the current software vendor is sometimes the vendor will not be responsive at all. We have one issue, I believe, that Diane had called in, when was it, in November? That we're still waiting on.
December, yep.
December, and it affects our lien process. The advantage of subscribing with Munis is that we avoid an upfront capital investment in a system, I should say a modern system that is designed to carry out all of the functions of the town that we currently endeavor in on a daily basis. For me, one of the biggest compelling reasons to go with the Munis software is that they are, in fact, a local vendor. They are within striking distance, 20 minutes. We would have full use of their lab for training and for training new employees that come along. And an important factor that we have to consider is that in today's environment, we never know what an act of God might bring as far as weather, whether or not we would end up in some sort of a situation where we would not be able to inhabit the building, and Munis would provide us with off-site services to print checks and keep the town going. It's set up so that we could remote in from any location. I could be visiting my family in Idaho and be working at the same time if it were necessary. So what do we look for? What did I look for, I guess? I had three major areas that I felt really needed to be addressed in any software decision. Is the company a viable company, and can they deliver the product that, in fact, we're asking them to deliver? And I believe, as I had indicated at the last meeting, they have about 40 clients here in Maine. Of the 40 clients, there are more towns than there are cities that subscribe to Munis. Across the country, I believe I had read there's something like they have 36,000 clients comprised of schools, counties, municipalities, and water districts and utility districts that run the software. How will the company help Lisbon stay current with technology and functionality required to deliver the services that our citizens here expect? By subscribing to software as a service, we have a choice to, within the contract, the subscription service that we would have to upgrade within the budget to each new release that comes along, or if we find that we're really comfortable with a particular release of software, we in fact would not have to upgrade until we were ready to do so. And so as I look out again over the next 5 to 10 years, okay, is the company likely to be a significant player in the marketplace? In other words, are we looking at a company that is growing, or are we looking at a company that is somewhat contracting and losing market share and maybe has turned its focus to other things other than municipal government? I can't say that that is entirely the case with our current vendor. However, if you were to really take a good look at the menu of products that they offer on their website, every product is mentioned with the exception of the product that we are currently using. So that kind of indicates that perhaps they're servicing the number of clients that they have that are working with that system. But as we say, the dogs are barking and the caravan is moving on to greener pastures. The other software vendor here in Maine is really contracting, and I think is just holding on to the clients that they currently have, being Northern Data Systems, and they are not actively pursuing new clients, as I had called several times and emailed, and not once did I receive a phone call back. So what does subscription as a service provide for us that we currently don't have? The first thing that it provides is stability in the software. I've talked to a number of individuals across the state that I know that are municipal finance directors that are currently using Munis, some that have transitioned from Trio, some that is still holding on to a few modules that Trio is still furnishing. So I got a good mix and some great feedback from some folks that I respect. Each one has said that, and I agree, there is really no panacea when it comes to selecting software. But you try to go with the software that's going to take you the furthest, cause you the least amount of pain, because I will tell you, putting up any software system, no matter how large or small, is a very painful process. The consensus was that Munis seemed to fit the bill, and service pretty much is uninterrupted, and the company is very responsive. So what do we get? We would get a general ledger package. Okay? The general ledger package would be a totally integrated package with the other modules that are contained within the Munis system that we're looking at. We are looking to purchase, not purchase, but enter into software as a service for what I would call the core functions that this town needs to carry out. We'd be looking at a general ledger, accounts payable, an accounts receivable module, which we have not had before. Accounts receivable that would be supported by not only a general ledger, but would also be supported by a sub-ledger of detailed receivables for each individual or company that we're expecting to receive future cash from in return for the service. This is over and above the tax receivables module. And again, although we do have a tax receivables module, and I will say that when Trio works the way it should work, it has a fairly good tax system. As a matter of fact, we're planning on staying with the front end part of taxation, which is the assessing system. However, the good thing about the software system is that if we have a customer or a citizen that we are dealing with taxes, that the system allows us to see the entire profile of that individual. So we know where they are with their property taxes. We know where they are with their personal property taxes. And further, we can, at the same time, have an understanding of where they are with their utility billings. We don't have that currently. If we have a client that we are dealing with and we're working through the taxes, again, it's like trying to grab books off the shelf, look up the client, see where they are with this issue, grab another book off the shelf, open that up, try to deal with that, and then for the third item, the same thing. This gives us a very quick way to respond to inquiries by the citizen. It gives us a profile of where we are with that citizen when we're talking to that individual, if in fact they're asking about, well, I've paid my property taxes, can you tell me what I owe on my utility? Or the worst case is if we have a client who is in arrears, we have a complete picture of where they're in arrears in one viewing. Cash management is really a problem for us now with the current software. Again, I cannot tell you how many hours goes into my managing and trying to manage the checking accounts and do the reconciliations and how much time that takes. We are looking to bring on a system that will provide extra hand through technology that will allow me and allow my cohorts here in the back office to spend their time on more critical things than trudging through numbers without the benefit of a system that is able to be reconciled. The check reconciliation system in the current software is not compliant with what I'll say the auditor's standards as far as what makes for a secure check reconciliation system. This software will give me the opportunity to better reconcile between the school department's accounts and the town's accounts, our loan funds. It should speed up my reconciliation of the cash from about 2.5 weeks a month to hopefully maybe a week. And it's 2.5 weeks of heads down drudgery going through all of the information. You know, some of you have asked for more sophisticated information regarding our budgets, our capital improvement programs. Number one, the system does not allow us to generate the kind of sophisticated information that you would like to have. And number two, there is no capacity in anyone's time in this building to be able to provide that information in our current state. We are looking at a fixed assets module, but I will tell you that in discussing fixed assets with one of my peers here in southern Maine, I am not so sure that we would move ahead with that mod at this time. I think there may be an opportunity for me to steal her database and perhaps employ it here in Lisbon. So we may be able to save a little bit of money there. I know that this individual would be more than willing to share the technology. We are looking at a totally integrated human resources and payroll module whereby an employee has the ability to go into the system on their own to enter their time in, can make some modest changes to their personal information, okay? However, it is designed to allow a number of security layers so that if you had the ideal where human resources was a separate function than payroll, which is true in a heavily collective bargaining environment typically, there are controls between what is resident in the human resources system for employee information and what is in the payroll system, so that you know, the cycle kind of goes, you approve the position, Diane is the chief executive, decides she's going to make a hire, we interview, we make an offer, we go back to Diane, Diane approves, let's say, and then the person in human resources would enter in the step, the salary, the profile. That's locked down. salary information transmitted over to payroll only, right? And so from there, each week that this individual works could, in fact, put their time in, send it electronically to the supervisor. The supervisor either approves or rejects. If it approves, it goes to the payroll person. The payroll person approves or rejects. Rejects, it goes back. Approves. This in itself will be a tremendous time saver. There have been some communities that have questioned the system's security regarding employee self-service and payroll. I've been assured by other jurisdictions that it is built in. I deployed for 13,000 people the same system in my last year as controller. I know the control's a resident in a system like that, and it saves a heck of a lot of time to the point where you don't even have to really print a payroll advice because you can deliver it through the email right to that individual. Jody spends, I would say, on average, we figured out probably a good 24 hours heads down on working on payroll and human resources things. And depending upon how busy it is as far as do we have pay increases to get in, there is a mass change, health insurance or whatever, it can get worse. And I will tell you that, and we were joking tonight, she does a hell of a job trying to outsmart the system as far as to keep it running. But it coughs. There are some times that neither Jody nor I nor Diane or anyone in the building can really get this thing moving. Again, if we were to run into some sort of a situation like that, we can have blank check stock over at Falmouth, and the checks would be printed for us. General billing. Another thing that we do not have with TRIO is that if we need to develop billing for special events or some unique things, the system that we're considering provides us with the ability to be able to create an invoice, plug it into the stream, and have it function. The analytics that come with Munis will only be as good as the folks putting together the reporting. In each of the system implementations I've been through in my career on when I worked for the state, the most complicated part of any system deployment is not so much do you have the right information, but what do you want to see when it comes out? How do you want to tease that database and system to provide you not only with what I would call the good stuff that entertains us who are into financial reporting, you know, the CAF or the audit and that sort of thing, but will be user-friendly enough to provide all of the department heads with financial information by which they can better manage their operations, more cost accounting types of information. But in order to get to that, it's a very slow process which everybody needs to be involved with and really think about what needs to come out. And so there again, leveraging the folks that have already been through the conversion with Munis and some of the communities where I have contacts who will gladly pitch in. The CAFR statement builder to me is, again, very critical. We do not, as a community, have a system that allows us to, I won't say easily, but with some finesse, create our own set of financial statements at the end of the fiscal year. Everything is pretty much dependent upon the auditor to complete. When I interviewed for the job with Diane and I think Greg Garrison and Dylan, one of the questions that I was asked was, do you know how to put together a year-end financial report? And I said, well, yes, I do. I said, I can't say that, you know, I did every single aspect of the report myself, but I said, you know, I have put it together. I explained that we had achieved the Certificate of Excellence and a whole bunch of other fluff that impressed them. And I got here and found we don't have the tools to put together a financial report. Okay? This year, I've made a stab at doing some things. I've drafted up the MD&A this year. I've drafted up the transmittal. I've made a start on the statistical section. And for you folks, I felt the most informative things that I could put in the statistical section for this year would be those things on debt, where we stand as far as statutory debt limits, what the profile of the town is as far as debt, how much we're carrying, to allow you to make some decisions moving forward. But what I really need is the package that will allow me to pull in the school's financials, pull in the water district, and to be able to give the auditor a comprehensive financial report from which they spend a lot less time trying to construct, more time auditing, and more time actually poking for management comments to help us improve the operations of the town. These are some of the things that I find critical. The benefits are not an exhaustive list, but I've tried to use the encumbrance system here because right now my encumbrance system is in the head of Brenda Martin. Okay, she functions as the encumbrance system. And I asked her, why aren't we using the encumbrance system in Trio? Because it doesn't work. I was told not to try to attempt to reverse a journal in Trio. But I didn't believe it. And I tried to use the correction and reversing journal functions in Trio. And guess what? Not only does it not work, but it presents such a distortion to the accounts that even I and the auditor couldn't figure out what the heck happened in a couple of occasions, and we had to peel the whole thing back to the beginning and work forward. General billing, again, the ability to create specialized billing when we have that type of event precluding us from manual billings and calculations. Fund accounting functionality with on-demand inquiry of fund balances, financial performance, and our financial net assets. Right now, we don't have that capability. We have a lot of stuff in the current system, but no good way to pull it out. You really can't get to the database itself. All you can do is get to some information that you can extract through an Excel or a CSV file. We do not have really what I would call a sophisticated budgeting program that allows us to break the budget down by month and add seasonality or some other statistical forecasting tool. The Munis system would provide a dashboard every morning where I could see cash. I would know where I am cash-wise. I would know who's in trouble right away. I would have what I would call a system that is functioning in real time and updating its status in real time, which would help us better manage. The rules-based enforcement in the current system is very basic. If I want to preclude somebody from a specific task, they are precluded from a task across the entire system, right? So if I don't want you to see a certain thing in Trio or be able to work with it, I can't shut that out for just the accounts that you may not have any business using. I've got to shut that off all across the system, which really doesn't facilitate good management when folks really need to look at their areas. We don't have any integrated multi-year analytical tool. If I want to take a look at where I was on a certain project a year ago, I get out of the current fiscal year and close it and go into the old fiscal year and open it. I cannot have 2 fiscal years open at once, right? There are times every day when I am looking and poking in more than 1 fiscal year to track back information in order to remediate or to move ahead and be able to provide everybody with good answers. I have included also a cash flow for you folks as to what I think the flows might be, because obviously I think that is very important. We are in an environment where I understand that there are limited resources and we have to leverage those resources to our highest and best uses. So what you have before you is what I would call a pared down net present value analysis. I've left off the discounted cash flow piece of it and concentrated on just what I think the incremental cash flows might be. Software today has about a 10-year life, okay? And that's if you stay current, if you keep moving ahead with the platforms, okay? In our case, our subscription would run 7 years, okay? At the conclusion of the 7 years, we would have some decisions to make, okay? Those of you who are here after the 7 years. I have tried to paint this in what I would call almost not the worst case scenario, but the next worst case scenario, okay? So what I have done is I have, you can see the subscription payments running 7 years. Savings directly, we found out from our current network provider, SimQuest, that they felt that the savings might be $1,200 per year in pulling the Trio data off. No real grounds to challenge him on the conclusion. You know, I think it's more, but you know, $1,200 is what he said, and I'm not going to paint any different picture. That would bring our cost down to about $86.5 per period. In any good analysis, you have to take a look at what you're avoiding. So what you see in the projected cost avoidance is I have flatlined savings on the Trio license because we are going to at least stay with assessing. I will also tell you quite candidly, right now the jury is still out on whether or not we move ahead with the motor vehicle package. In the past, Munis's motor vehicle package has not been the most robust module. However, they have stepped up to a new platform, and I told Munis folks that, I wanted my folks to have a chance to see it. And I had spoken to 2 other peers today. One decided to stay with Trio. The other one was with Trio and is now moving to the Munis motor vehicle because of the Platform 11. The technical guy that I talked to was very candid with me today and said that there were problems with Release 10, and they learned a lot from that. They've remediated the problems and improved the software considerably. So I told him that we would take a look at it. Also included in cost avoidance is the fact that if we don't do something, the financial administration of the town will continue to devolve and disintegrate. The audit report is not pretty, as Diane and I had warned you. We are making some progress, but people here are maxed. We don't want to hire any more people. I understand that. I understand there are other priorities. So I have included cost avoidance of a position, okay? And as you can see, the progression is software savings from Trio and the hiring of a new individual, and it goes 57, 58, 59, 61, 62, and then drops down to 58, okay? I get it. People are going to come to work. They're going to stay a specific length of time. They may find better opportunities and move on. And so I've tried to take that into consideration as well and be fair in saying, okay, somebody may not stay with us for 10 years. And if they don't stay with us from 10 years, then the cost avoidance can't continue on this linear path of increasing. So I dropped it back again, and as you can see, in the 10th year, I again drop it back, knowing that each time somebody does leave, the pay scale has ratcheted up a bit, and you can't go back 7 years on what you were paying somebody. So I factored that in. I've also factored in increased storage costs. You know, we will have to make some judgments along the way. How much data do we actually want to save electronically? How much do we need to save? Do we need to save 10 years of data? What are 10 years of data really going to do for us if, in fact, we have the financial reports? No one's going to go back to see what you paid Ed Karras 10 years ago or Diane. It's going to be really irrelevant data at that point. But, in fact, I have figured the increases to buy another 100 megs or so, 100 gigs of memory every so often throughout the 10 years. I factored in that we are going to have some working capital requirements along the way, most immediately about $25,000. And then I'm figuring in year 3 for perhaps another $2,500 may need to be invested. Years 5, 6, and out to 10, you know, there will have to be some improvements. May be system related, may not be system related, but again, I can't tell you that 87,000 is going to do it for 7 years. No one could stand here and say that it's going to do it. So I've tried to factor in some amount of money. And then hopefully at the end of the 10th year, at least we can say that we have recaptured our original investment of $25,000. So that's where we're headed. And I cannot stress enough to all of you that we are really at a critical juncture. You have to make the best decision for the town that you can. I hope that you make the decision that we believe is the right decision, and we go from there. I don't think there has been anybody that's walked into my office on this council that has seen me loafing in the office with spare time. My head is down, I'm trying to plug along, but at some point, if you folks want better information and more relevant information, a commitment has to be made to a new system. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Guess I need a motion.
Yeah, I just want to say, today we were able to get some information on our call summaries. I've got 9 pages of support calls. Not all of it is because of the Trio system. Some of it is because of, you know, new employees and so forth. But I did see a pattern on some of the issues that we're facing. But what really struck me, which I had no idea, is the open call summary, which all these calls are open. There are 17 of them where we've had issues, and they're either in development to fix, they're in research, they're open, they've sent it to a tech, and the oldest one goes all the way back to 2010. The crash applying a payment that seems to be happening a lot, that's still open, and the priority is medium. All of these open calls are medium priorities. I can't tell you what some of them are because I wasn't here at the time, but I can tell you the crash applying payments, that's a real issue for me, because that affects utility accounts. It's mainly on the utility side. The other one that's, is the ESP portal. That's where the employees go in to see what their check stubs look like. We still have an issue since January. Right now, the issue out there is some of the gross amounts are wrong on the check stubs. They were paid right, but the gross amounts are way inflated. A lot more money than these people have made. So that's still out there. I just was flabbergasted that we have 17 issues out there that have not been resolved, dating back quite a ways. So anyway, and I did see a pattern all the way back in 2015 on some of these issues on multiple calls. So there is an issue out there with the software, but they're not. There's nothing in development. When they fix the account through the back door, they close it. It should still be open. They should be trying to figure out a way to fix it because it's not right, and that's not what they're doing. So I just wanted to give you that information just so you can see what we're dealing with here.
Well, I have no reason to doubt, and I do know I've been in the office when Ed's been having problems. So I'm gonna ask for a motion to purchase this system.
Can we just have some, I have some questions for
Well,
Ed.
we'll
Yeah.
do that, and then we'll go
After the
into
motion?
discussion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with this.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Now we'll go into discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going through your list, Ed, and it's pretty encompassing associated with that, but just as your talking points associated with that, my experience through Lewiston, what version are they pitching to you right now?
It's the, it will be the most current version that they have.
11.1.
Yeah.
11. That's going to address general billing and payroll arrears calculations, because the prior version, I don't know if it actually comes into play, but if you do any payroll arrears where employees out for a period of time, the old software version did not have any capability for that.
Correct.
So that's two integral pieces that are going to be a positive. Is the pricing that you put in there including all the modules with the exception of the fixed assets you talked about?
No, the fixed assets and Motor V are included.
Okay.
Okay. I would rather we not.
I'm
I'd
not getting
rather
into
we
a point of
not
nickel dime
take
on
it
it.
out now, just in case. You know, you never know with a deployment of software
Right.
what's going to bite you. So at the point that we're comfortable taking it out, and the deal I have moving forward is we're going to look at fixed assets. We're going to look at Motor V. If we are not interested in Motor V and fixed assets, they come out. The comments I got from one of the other finance directors in the area was that, well, fixed assets is great. It's overkill in a lot of ways. And
Yes.
if it's overkill, then I don't need it because I'll find another avenue.
And one of the other points that you made associated with that is the improvements to motor vehicle. If they're in 11.1, I have no knowledge associated with that. I just know that the version that was in 10.5 they were promoting was where Lewiston chose not to. So they still stay with the trio. So that would be a consideration that would be open for you for sure.
Yeah, from what I understood, the problems in 10.5 first surfaced, I think, in Gardner.
Yeah.
And then from there, others began to experience it.
Yeah,
But
and that
now
was
it's,
the same feedback we heard. So that's a good talking point. What is you gave a lot of the different companies, and did you ever get the name for the school departments? And is it school
Yes.
specific only?
No, it's a Tyler product. It is a school-specific product. However, with a uniform chart of accounts, it can be ported right over to Munis, should you so desire.
But it isn't usable by a municipality. is the
No,
point.
it's
That's-
specifically written for schools.
That's typically the way that they go. That's why I was asking. Okay. Just a feedback, and I think I shared with you before, their training is very compartmentalized instead of global. I don't know if any of your peers have brought you that same thing. So when you're talking about payroll, you're talking about payroll and not how it implicates into general ledger.
Right.
And vice versa, or in accounts receivables, you'll talk about accounts receivables and not how it plays into your ledger. Table setups, as you mentioned, that's key, and having an overview of how all of
Right.
these integrate, that's the piece that's actually going to be the pitfall, because it creates a lot of redundancy in your capacity
Right.
moving this stuff forward with a July 1 timeframe on your horizon.
I think we have, I think I've got a fairly decent plan. I gotta tell
Okay,
you.
and that's just food for thought. That's the one
No,
piece.
I understand, and I hear what you're saying. I mean, with any software, you've got to stay right on top of it during development and employment. Also, the compartmentalized issue, I really took to heart when you and I spoke the last
Yeah.
time. And so I have got to make sure that not only myself, but I have a fully trained second here in the building that could be ready to step in and have an overview and understanding of how everything fits together. And I think we have that individual on staff, which gives me comfort as well.
That's a good observation too, because in that regard, you would not be the average user associated with that, the oversight, but having somebody to step in. When you mention reliance on an IT that's actually not here, there's still going to be that base need in the organization to make sure that those things actually
Right.
continue. Absolutely. Dashboard is critical. A lot of the criticism that's anybody that's currently using Munis right now is because they don't have the dashboard option associated with that in the platform that they're putting. 11.1 will have the dashboard.
Yep.
So a lot of the complaints that you're going to hear from your other competition is because they don't have that feature in the software.
And the good thing about the dashboard is what I want to see on the dashboard is not necessarily what Diane might want to see or any of the managers throughout the organization.
And it can be tailored to the individual.
Correct.
Absolutely. I mean, the global functioning on, I made the note associated with security, that's a huge piece because you can lock it down by function, what the responsibilities of the individual are. It's literally, it can be different in each individual application. I'm sorry for monopolizing, but it is something that it's been 2 years of my life going through his process, so I feel that. How does maintenance work? What are those, you mentioned the 7-year payoff. Is we looking at a new implementation, or are we going to a, not a subscription, but maintenance
I don't
after
know.
that?
I figure, as I looked at the increase in working capital in the out years, and you can see as we get further out into time that working capital goes up to 5 and then 10,000. And I believe that what's going to happen as we get out in time is we're going to have to make some decisions. Do we want to continue? Is there something better? What restructuring do we want to do? So I felt that would be very important for us to have some resources available as the system begins to age out in years
On hand.
7 through 10, so that the town is in a position to make some decisions.
Okay.
I'll tell you, in 10 years, I'm not going to be here to make the decision, but I want to make sure
Somebody's
that,
in a better position to do so.
no, I want to make sure that somebody is in a position and has the resources to be able to do that.
And the last piece that I have is Trio going to be a legacy system that you actually are going to have any, is it going to be shelved, no support? How does that work?
We're planning on maintaining, for at least a period of time, the assessing system. It
Right.
seems to work good. It's a pretty self-contained system. So that will continue on. As far as a legacy system, we're going to try to convert as much data as possible that we have on Trio. It's all CSV files anyways, and
Okay.
convert it to a Munis so that we have some deep pockets when we want to look back and see how we did. But what we have to arrive at is what is cost effective and what is reasonable.
And that was my point, is the migration. The pricing they've given you, I'm sure, has a base. Is there any dialogue of how much history, number of years, are going to be imported into Munis?
I have 50 gigabytes of storage in this contract, in this subscription.
Right.
And currently, I believe Trio is taking up about 17, okay?
Right.
So I can go back and probably, if we really wanted to, we could go back as far as maybe 2010. I mean, beyond that, data is pretty irrelevant at that point.
Well, you got to primarily anything after the 7-year window is irrelevant anyways.
Yeah.
But where I was going with it is cost to actually get that into Munis for the migration is, one, costly, and two, extremely time consuming with these data punches from you back to them and then vice versa, making sure the data looks correctly. It's just your time investment to get
Within
to that
this, though, we have the conversion of the data.
Right.
Now we have to decide how much.
What are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
Right. No, thank you. That addresses, because I know we chose, and the saying Lewison's path, the fact is the history there is 1 year. The fact is we shelved our prior software and it's a legacy system. There's no support on it associated with that, but it's another avenue. So to get the multiple views that you're looking at, you would have to have some basis for Trio, but I'm not seeing that would be something that would be reasonable in this situation if you're not able to use the system now.
Right.
Because once we commit to this,
There is no
you
going
can
back.
expect you can expect their support is going to be nil,
Right.
to even to the level they're getting now.
Right.
I want to piggyback.
They've got no incentive to help you whatsoever when they lost a customer.
Correct.
And that's why I'm going to piggyback on nicely where Alan just left off. So if we do decide to go ahead and take the subscription, we talked about a couple of modules that we're not sure yet, but we want to bring them in, fixed assets and motor vehicle excise tax.
Correct.
If we decide that we want to not go with them, are we locked into the 7 years, or do we just bail out after the first year saying, yeah, we decided against these couple modules?
We'll make a decision before we get to that.
Okay, so there's an opt-out time?
Well, yes, there is.
Okay.
And so what my plan is, basically on the Motor V, is to bring the Munis folks in as soon as possible and run the demo here. And then I'm going to send my senior person probably down to Cumberland and then down to Falmouth, where they will get two views. One who is leaving Trio to go to Munis, and one who detests the Munis motor vehicle subsystem.
Okay.
So,
Well,
you know.
no, I understand. That's fair. That being said, we're talking about the redundancy. It was nice to hear you say that there was going to be somebody other than yourself. I kind of figured that would be something that we would build into place just because it makes smart business sense to have more than one person well versed in the system so that the machine can run smoothly in the event somebody is away. But when you look at the overall staff that's going to have to come on board, what's the investment of training in the staff from the Munis perspective? Do they allot X number of hours? Are they all in with boots on the ground after implementation? And how long, and what does that look like to make sure that our people are ready to be able to hit the ground running with this?
Yeah, we have within the agreement a certain number of hours of training for each mod. The good thing is before we even get to the training, we'll be able to get into the Munis website, into their system, and as they say in the industry, I'm not a computer person, but you can play in our sandbox.
Right,
Okay?
right.
So I'm hoping that all the folks have some amount of time before they even get to the training to work with the system.
On that topic, can you bank hours? It became a real issue within Lewison's that you may find that the accounts receivable might not take as much time, but you're going to need something in payroll or ledger. That we were allowed to be able to bank those hours so they're available to switch between the module training.
You know, it's another discussion point for tomorrow. Thank you for the
It's-
heads
it's a-
up.
It's a good one in that
Yes.
regard because it was a considerable savings, because if you run over and then you're now on the clock and the cost just goes up from there.
You know, again, I really appreciate the support. I don't want to minimize the pain that this is going to bring over the next several months.
Careful what you're asking for because it's a considerable amount of work, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one more thing, and I'm not sure if this would be for you or for Diane maybe. I looked at the packet where the money will come from out of the general fund. So that's going to be something that'll build into this calendar budget, correct?
Are you talking about the startup costs? That's going to come up, yes, this current budget.
Yep,
I can explain some of it too. I broke it out between the general fund and the wastewater treatment plant.
I think it would be great just for the folks at home.
Yep, so I'm estimating that
Thank you, Ed.
our cost from the general fund is going to be $19,250, and then $5,750 out of the wastewater treatment plant. In the wastewater treatment plant, they have an account that they carried forward called for asset management that has a little over 100,000, I think, believe in it, and I'm going to dedicate $5,750 out of that account. The grants match that we put in this year's budget, I don't foresee us applying for any grants where we're going to have a match. The grants that we have applied for that require a match, we already have that money set aside from a prior year. So I'm going to tap into that. We have money set aside for upgrades to our computers, and I told Ryan that I'll need to have 4,200 of that to go towards the software, and we'll just hold off on any computer upgrades and just do the ones that are crashing on us or we see a potential for a crash. We were setting aside doing X amount every year, but we won't do that this year. The assessing,
Ryan is who?
Ryan Layton, the,
No, I didn't know he has the responsibility for that too.
yeah, he's
Okay.
responsible for the technology budget.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure. Thank you.
The assessing contracted services, after we completed this year's budget, for the new three ones, the three new ones, you were probably not aware that we had to renegotiate the contract with Bill Van Tynen for the revaluation because it didn't get done in the 5-year period. So in that contract, he has to provide us with $5,000 worth of assessing services for the next 2 years, so we won't be spending that.
Great.
And then the abatements, we're getting close to the abatement period being over, and we don't anticipate anything large coming in, so there will be money left over in that as well. So I'm going to use $5,000 from that. And that's how I came up with my money.
Thank you very much for that.
Now, the outstanding tickets that you said that you have a list of, are those issues resolved? Are they still an issue right now?
They are still an issue right now, and I did place a call to the manager of Trio yesterday, and he has not returned my call. So I will be discussing those with him when he does return my call.
How far back did they go?
Back to 2010.
Okay, and if there were issues back in 2010, why hasn't anybody followed up until now?
I didn't even know this was out there until we printed it. I don't.
But that's my point. Is
Right.
if it's an ongoing issue and it's still an issue to today's date.
Because some of these issues were issues brought up by people that no longer work here.
Okay.
So I did not know that these were out there.
So then the people who have now filled those positions, are they having these same issues?
I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what the issues are. Like his internal audit errors. I don't know what that means. So I've got to have them give me more information on what these issues are.
So
I don't know what that means.
Some of these might be closed, you
Right.
just never got notification.
Well, no, they've got on the list of 9, they're all closed here, and then they have all these that are open, but I need to get more information because I don't know
And
what they
clearly,
mean.
they haven't answered your question, they haven't responded to your request. So,
Right.
Okay.
I
So-
mean, there's another one here, balances are incorrect. I don't know what that means. I don't know what account the balances are incorrect because again, it was done before I came to work here,
Right.
and
Right. Well, it was in response to what we were looking for. I remember the dialogue yesterday. Show
Right.
us something that was actually there for the
Right.
number of occurrences, and it definitely addresses it. It just points to a much larger topic.
there's one here that says duplicate dog registration. That's in research, so I don't know if that's an ongoing issue or if it, I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I just printed this off this afternoon. I just got access.
I appreciate you having it because it was
Yeah.
addresses the topic.
Have we given them a list of grievances?
No.
Okay, so, I mean, for me, I would rather see a list of grievances given to them to see if they can rectify it, and if they can't rectify it, then we would move from there. I mean, if we're already contracted with them. That's,
Well, some of this, at least a couple of the calls I followed up on that I actually had direct contact with, they were serious issues that were going on, and they were putting us on the back burner. And I was told that, there was calls ahead of me. And then I placed a call to somebody that I knew in the organization, and they brought me to the forefront. But it's very difficult to even get a hold of somebody down there. We're on hold all of the time. But I do have some issues with some of the outstanding, why they're not trying to figure out what the problem is instead of just fixing it and moving on to somebody else. If we have the issue more than once, then they should be trying to do a fix and not just closing it.
now,
And again, until I looked at this list here to see how far back it goes and if those issues were just specific to this year, and how many times it's happened, I did not know until after today. I just know of the calls that I've been aware of, what Ed's been doing, and what Megan's been doing prior to that, because everybody else is gone now that would normally make these calls. They're not here, so I don't know.
okay. In one of the communications that I had requested was more information in regards to other competitors, what programs that they have to offer to compare with this and what we currently have in prices, and I never really received a response in regards to that. How we looked at other places?
Well, there's two others. There's Northern Data, which is what the town had before they moved to Trio, and you've got Trio, and then you have this Munis.
And that was all done just recently, that we've reached out to them to find out what programs and services they have to offer?
Well, we've got Trio now.
right, I'm
That's
saying
not-
with,
But Northern Data has very, very few municipalities, and they're like a what do I want to say? The type of operating system that they're on. Huh? Unix, that's it. Thank you. So, and that's who we changed from to go to Trio, and I would not want to go back to
You have to
Northern
have a
Data.
programmer at that level.
but is there any documentation to show to us so that way we can look at it and see?
No.
Any other questions? Motion's been made, motion's been seconded. Do we need just a hands, Twyla, or all in favor?
All those opposed? The vote is 6 in favor and 1 opposed. Order passed.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-17, scheduled joint workshop with the school committee for audit review.
So we're about ready to unveil the audit. We've just got a few things left to do tomorrow, and the audit is available on Tuesdays. So in looking at the calendar,
Next Tuesday?
well, I was thinking that, but I know that the school has a facilities meeting next Tuesday, starting at 5:30. So if you want the school to be there, they're gonna be at another meeting off-site.
Yeah, okay.
If they, if you want to do it at 7, they may be done by then. If not, I was thinking maybe the 23rd, because the 16th, the week of the 16th, I know Mr. Green is going to be gone, and I think that's school vacation week, isn't it, the week of the 15th of February? So that probably wouldn't be a good time to do it, so I was thinking maybe the 23rd, an off Tuesday.
Well, been Everybody in favor of the 23rd? I'd like to have,
At 7?
have Mr.
Yes,
contact the school
I
department to make sure
Yep.
they're all right with it. If they
Can
are,
we-
the 23rd will do it.
want to do the 23rd
Yep.
at 7?
Yep.
Okay.
Vote on that?
No,
There are no objections? Do you need a vote,
Next.
or?
Yeah, because they're setting a workshop. Let's take a vote on that.
Okay, we need a vote? Okay,
I make a motion that we change it February 23rd at 7 o'clock.
Need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
And if the school has a problem with it, then have them let us know. We try
Yep.
to take care of it. Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-18, standard offer electricity contract.
So I have a couple of energy brokers that I've been dealing with to get me quotes on our standard offer electricity for the energy supply. And I've gotten a couple of quotes in, and just to give you an idea of how much we could save. And this is another process where I got a quote earlier today, but until I sign a contract, it's not enforceable, and it changes. It can change from hour to hour, so it's almost like the fuel bid. So I have one here for a fixed price, and as you know, the energy costs, they change from month to month. And I have one here that we can get a fixed rate at almost 6 cents a kilowatt. And we could save on our current usage about $11,000 a year. Wow. Right, and then they have a 2-year option at about almost 64 cents, and the savings would be about $6,100 a year. I wouldn't recommend that because I think the 1-year option is good. There again, I'm just seeking permission to enter into a contract for the best rate, and it's gonna be day by day. Like, I got a quote last week from this same company, and then today the prices even went down. So until I sign a contract, I'm not gonna know what it's gonna be.
Right.
And even though I got this afternoon, it might not be
It could be
the same.
13 cents
It could be
tomorrow.
different right now. You know, it went down today, which is good because, you know, the price of oil is going down.
Right.
So I would request that you allow me to enter into a contract with the best pricing for our energy costs for our
Now, my reading of
electricity.
the purchasing policy says there's nothing there that we don't have to go through a bid process. You can actually go with the individual of your choosing, right?
With permission from council.
Yes, move forward.
Hey, you need a
Yeah, and
vote?
then I'll come back and let you know what that
I
is and
make
what the
that motion.
estimated
Absolutely.
savings are.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-19 to reschedule a public hearing to change voting locations.
Next meeting?
February 16th.
Yep.
Here at the town hall.
Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-20, the library microscope and telescope borrowing agreement.
Good evening, members of the Town Council, Town Manager, and Lisbon citizens. In your packet this evening, you do have a draft of the microscope and telescope borrowing arrangements for you to review. The Library Governing Board supported this unanimously at their January meeting. It is the policy that was adopted by the other 59 libraries who have this equipment. They've had no problems. They've just rented it to, or loaned it to their customers, and they've had no problems with anybody who's, signed these policies. And so the governing board recommends that the council approve these two policies. We would follow it strictly. These items will not be loaned out willy-nilly. The patron must be in good standing, 18 years of age or older, go through our training, And if they're not willing to do that, then they will not be allowed to borrow. 1 week, you cannot renew it like a book or a DVD. It needs to come back. It is checked before you sign off on it. And every time you want to borrow it, you re-sign a policy. It's not a one-time, you're good for a lifetime. We want to make sure, first of all, you're still in good standing and that the machine is in working order when you return it. So it's worked well in the other 59 libraries, so it is your decision, Council.
I'll make a motion to accept the policy.
I'll second it.
Yeah, I made a motion.
Have to do it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Any discussion?
No, I appreciate you actually following up with the governing board to actually find out what the other communities were. That
Absolutely.
feedback is,
Right, absolutely.
That's
And
good.
the governing board was pleased to discuss this as well. When you have more information, you're better informed, and decisions are a little bit easier.
No. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you, Diane.
I have a couple minutes.
Another one still.
Get another one?
Yep.
Next item to Koala.
Order 2016-21, the library stained glass art memorial.
On the side wall here is Mr. Nutting's copy of the stained glass piece in memory of our staff member, Mary Lou Shark, who passed away last March. There was a memorial fund set up by family, friends, and community members. We've met with Mr. Nutting, and he has come up with this design. However, I'll step aside. This was supposed to be mounted inside the skylight itself, around the four walls of the skylight. For the reasons that you have in your packet, the safety of the building, mounting something that heavy, made of glass, they would have had to backlight it with LED lights, electrician, and all that jazz, and code and all of that. The governing board decided that this would be a beautiful piece, sort of cut 18 by 28, somewhere around here. The two pieces will be put in the front of our building. This is difficult. This is the front of our building. These are 3 windows above the big window, and these 2 panels would be put in what we call window 1 and window 3. You don't need the backlighting. The sunlight will take care of that nicely. And it will serve our efforts to redo our facade. And when people drive by Main Street, I think it would really add to our building. The governing board voted unanimously to approve this stained glass piece. It's not specific in the sense it doesn't depict someone's family or children or anything. They're just Maine flowers. They're, Mr. Nutty did his homework. They're spring flowers and then flowers that grow in our forests locally. And so I think it would be pretty. The colors that he would do, I think would just brighten that front window tremendously. The money to produce these stained glass pieces is in the Friends of the Library account. They set up a memorial fund for Mary Lou, and that's maintained by the Friends. Mrs. Lunt is their treasurer. And they've earned or raised enough money, I should say, to pay for the glass pieces, to hire Mr. Nutting, and to have them installed safely by FCI, local contractors.
I need a motion to accept.
Make a motion that we accept.
Second?
I'll second it.
No, in discussion?
again, I think the governing board actually has done a good job of actually
Very
finding
nice.
a better way to approach it with less maintenance and long-term issues. So.
It was a real issue that we discussed, I think, Claire, 3 meetings in a row? The in order to honor Mary Lou the way we wanted to and respect her family, but also maintain our public library and the safety of our building, the efficiency of our building, and not have to worry about lighting and someone getting up there to change those bulbs. It just, frankly, the skylight is beautiful the way it is. I managed to show it to you tomorrow, Mr. Ward.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful the way it is, and so it's not that this wouldn't add to it, but this will really, I think, serve our front facade better than stuffed away into the skylight itself. So, yes, they did a good job. Yep.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Next item, Koala.
Order 2016-22, Dollar General Summer Reading Grant.
In our research, trying to find some grant money for our summer reading program, Bill Meakin, our children's librarian, and I came across that Dollar General has a grant program specifically for children's literacy. And we thought it would be a good idea, since they're new to our town and people love the new store, that perhaps we could apply for this grant to bring a summer intern to our library again. We funded that with a grant 3 years ago from Centers. In the last 2 years, the town graciously paid for our summer intern. It's a wonderful position and adds a great deal to our summer program. We would pay that intern with this grant and then purchase materials that the grant specifies to help children improve their reading skills in the summer. And so we do have some, but this extra money would certainly expand that program. And we'd like to offer the summer program twice a week if this comes through for us. We could have an afternoon, like we usually do Tuesday, but we'd offer an evening program for those parents who are not available during the day. So this would really be nice to have, and to add materials that help children improve their reading skills. That would be great for us.
I
Need a
make that
motion to
motion.
accept.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Any discussion?
Seems like a no-brainer. We're tying our hands, go after the money.
No
to
matching
get-
money is involved, so we feel that the max is $3,000, and we'd like to ask for the $3,000.
Thank you very much for going after that and recognizing an opportunity.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, Koala.
Order 2016-22A, the Durham Dispatch Contract.
The Durham administrator called me on late Thursday afternoon after we sent out the agenda. And they had their meeting last Tuesday, and they did have the Durham dispatch contract on the agenda. But based on the recommendation of the fire chief, he wants to get quotes from other communities on dispatching. So what they've asked me to do is to see if council would mind extending the contract for 3 months. There's nothing for you to vote on tonight. I just want to get the consensus of the council, because I need to get extension language that I want Dan Stockford to work on. But in the meantime, the police chief has a meeting set up with the fire chief of Durham so that they can work out whatever issues there might be, so that we can get another contract with them.
I have no problem with that.
So what I'll do is I'll come back to you at the next meeting with the extension language for you to vote on and to sign, and then we'll get that over to Durham.
Did they give any sort of indication? I thought we had covered some ground with some sticking points initially.
Those aren't the issues.
No, okay, something completely
No,
different came out of the...
something completely
Okay,
different.
that's fair, thank you.
Okay.
Next item, Koala.
Under other business, town manager's report.
I just want you to know I'm making some headway on the personal property tax collections. The letters that I sent out, I've gotten quite a bit of interest. A lot of people have contacted me. I've received several payments, so hopefully I won't have to go to small claims court on too many of them. And then the tax bills, we sent out tax bills again for the people that have not paid the second installment. And the tax due date is 3/15 of 2016, so those just went out last week. So we should be getting some more tax money in. That's all I have.
Next item, Koala.
Is B, do you have the Finance Director's report?
Good evening. I'll make this very high level, very brief, and leave it for questions. Generally, through the first 6 months of operations, I can say that in all of our accounts in the aggregate, that we are running pretty much on budget. Of note would be that motor vehicle revenues are almost 1% ahead at the mid-year mark. So while it is really too early to predict how much they may come in over budget, we are headed into February, which is typically our busy season for registering large trailers over the road. And once we get by February, I am hoping that we'll have a repeat performance of our April, May, June revenue take. And if last year is any indication, and if sales tax revenues coming into the state are any indication, and oil stays down, gas stays moderate, I think we could probably see another flurry of new car purchases this spring and hopefully bring us in over the top of our revenues. Other revenues of note really would be the state revenues that come into us for revenue sharing, which are running slightly ahead of what we anticipated. So I am confident that at least we will receive the $520,000 that we are earmarked to receive throughout this year. Other grant programs that we participate in, the urban rural grant has been delivered. That came in at $96,000, exactly what we budgeted. Tree growth has been collected in its entirety for the year. Homestead, which we are anticipating $236,500. We've collected so far $184,000, with our final payment expected in June. Other things of note within general government, I would bring to your attention, piggybacking on what Diane had been speaking about as far as tax revenues, just to give you some perspective, not only on the revenue side, but on the diligence that we have undertaken as far as collections. At December 31st in 2013, we had $2.4 million in cash. We had $49,855 outstanding in uncollected taxes that went back as far as 2008, 2009. In 2014, we had $2.6 million in cash at December 31st. Our taxes receivable, another year had come on board. We were at $53,326 uncollected on old taxes. In 2015, in December, we were at $3.5 million in cash and had receivables in old years. This is not speaking of the current tax year, but old years, again, going back to 2008, 2009. We were at $99,870 outstanding. This fiscal year, we finished with cash at December 31st of approximately $3.7 million, and our outstanding tax receivables for prior year is $2,327. So that's what diligence can bring, and paying attention to what is going on. Other highlights that I would bring to your attention, basically, public safety, both the police department and fire department in the aggregate are on budget. I think within the police department, we'll probably have to move some money around to cover overtime throughout the year. The department that I worry about the most, Public Works. And why do I worry about them the most? Because they are the most susceptible department to acts of God and nature. While we could be running way ahead on budget as far as savings on expenses, collectability on what little revenues they bring in, any one snowstorm, any rainstorm, or anything unforeseen could cause problems in the budget. We are running very thin in the Public Works budget. Our repair line is just about maxed out for the year, so we're hoping that we will get through the winter and have some money left over in the spring. Our parts line is really maxed at this point. I'm hoping we will make it through the snow season. And that's all I want to say about Public Works. Public Services, which is library and Parks and Recreation. To date, they're budgeted to bring in $246,000 spread over 38 activities within Parks, Recreation, and the library. So far, they have brought in $180K, so they are at 73% of what their budget was anticipated, and I'm sure that they will continue to go along. We had one large cost overrun, and that was in summer trips, which exceeded everybody's expectations. We had budgeted around 20. We ended up with about $23,000 in expenditures, so obviously the revenues also came in way over as well. So with that, we more than covered the unanticipated expenditure. Speaks to the quality of the programs that you folks have here in Lisbon. That's really pretty much all I would really like to say about where we ended up, because it's old news. I think we really need to get on a better schedule as far as reporting out on what's going on with cash, receivables, and expenses, and hopefully I'd see you guys again on this sometime end of February or in March.
What is that schedule, Diane?
Folks, say that again now.
What is that schedule that we get to hear from Ed?
To-
How often? Is it
Every-
quarterly or?
Monthly usually, but
Monthly, he does the
yeah,
monthly
what-
report.
Yeah.
And it's a
He's,
rotating list to get everybody here in a quarter, or what, how does that work?
we tried to do, I think the way it's worked out is, yeah, about once a quarter. So I have actually 2 department heads a month that do a actual oral report, but monthly you get the written report.
If you had a recommendation, would you think December, March, June, or am I off in those quarters?
I think you'll probably see more and hear more from finance as we go through the budget.
Right.
But I would think as you get toward the end of the year, that would probably be the most important time. You know, it's too early to predict where we're going to come out, but as you get into the late March, April, May, you begin to see a trend, you begin to see the end of the year, and at that point you can pretty much play
you have an idea of where you stand after
Yeah.
winter.
So whatever you
Definitely,
folks-
I'd like to see Ed again in April, just to get an idea where we stand after winter.
Traditionally, you get those reports monthly, but
Right.
we don't like to release them until we've reviewed them and reconciled
get
them, and
that.
that's been an issue for
And
us
it's-
lately, so.
The more time we actually have him spending the reports, the less time he's actually getting to the other tasks that he has at hand.
Thank you.
Next item, Twello.
Next item is audience participation and response for new items.
Anybody? Seeing nobody, next item.
It's under appointments. Order 2016-23 to accept the Emergency Management Agency Director resignation from Keith Ado.
In your packet, you had a copy of an email that I received from Keith. I just want to say that he really worked hard for us, and he helped get our EOP plan in place. And hopefully someday, you know, he'll be able to, if he has time, he'll be able to do some more work with us. But tonight, you'll need to accept the resignation and then appoint a new EMA director, and we'll talk about that after.
I need a motion to accept the resignation.
I'll make the motion.
So I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Adam?
Order 2016-24 to appoint the Emergency Management Agency Director.
So after I got the resignation, I reached out to Lisa Ward, who is in the audience tonight, because I know of her experience and background in emergency management over at the county. So I asked her if she might be interested in taking this on, and she'll come up if you want to, Lisa.
Thank you. I recently had a meeting with other ad hoc committee members with Keith just prior to his resignation. And on that ad hoc committee, we have former counselors and a water commissioner, and Mr. Ano was on it as emergency management director. What we wanted to do was put together a group of people who could help move emergency operation plans forward for Lisbon, look at where they are and where they need to be as far as not only where federal and state requirements would like us to be, but where we as residents of Lisbon would like us to be. There are a lot of good opportunities, and we had a very good discussion. Unfortunately, just after that, Mr. Ano had to resign. I talked with Diane briefly. I then also contacted the director of the Androscoggin United Emergency Management Agency in Lewiston, which Lisbon is a part of. And Director Potvin pretty much gave me all the information I needed in terms of what to expect and what the work would entail. I already have a broad view of what the position entails. I already have part of the training and had already planned on some of the additional training. Director Potvin agreed to meet with me personally for the remainder of the training. I'm already the volunteer coordinator for the emergency response team for Androscoggin County, and that's a community emergency response team. As such, as a volunteer, I think I have a good solid idea of what it's like to try to get people who don't want to do anything to help. But it's also a really great chance to give people who want to do something and want to help and don't know how to go about doing that the opportunity to do so. So, you know, in my experience as a volunteer in a lot of different ways, in the volunteers and police service, the emergency response team and so forth, I think that I'd be a good fit for the town. Director Potvin also pointed out that what she felt was one of the most important aspects of the job is to be able to know who to contact and how to get things done. And I really think that my experience on the council helped me to get to know the people who work in the town in terms of public works, department heads like the fire chief and the police chief and the public works director. Those are all really important people to know and departments to be familiar with. And so I think the combination makes me a good candidate for that. And I also asked about time, how much I would have to put in. Having experienced taking on jobs that did require more time than I had available to me. I really think this fits in so well with the other volunteer work that I do that it's a very little more time commitment, and it's I'm willing to put in that time, and I'm willing to work toward having a committee and a good solid emergency plan for the town of Lisbon. So I'm open to any questions anyone might have.
This is not a mistake. I wish to make a motion to nominate you for EMA director. I need a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 7-0.
Thank you very much, and I just want to urge anyone who thinks of a question later on or has any issues that they feel might relate to emergency management, to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions or meet and talk with anyone at any time.
Thank you for taking the role on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item, Koala.
Order 2016-23, the 2016 committee assignments.
Oh, yes. On the ad hoc, as she's got here, committee, we have different people, and I'm gonna read the names for the different committees, and if you have an objection, I've got the okay for most of you, please say yes or no if you do not want it. For the administration of the library, for council liaisons, I have Norm Albert and Casey Colby.
I'm not going to do it. No, I'm just kidding.
You were gonna do it.
That was cold, man.
Public safety, I have Chris Brunel and Dale Crafts. Public Works, Parks and Recreation, Eric McTivia, Casey Colby, and Alan Ward. Schools Facility Committee, Eric McTivia and Chris Brunel, in which they are going to have a meeting next Tuesday, and they would love to have you there. School Committee. And this is going to be an important one. Norm Albert, Cassie Colby, Alan Ward. And on these committees, you're supposed to elect a chair and report back, so you guys can figure that out yourself. Water Commissioner, me and Eric Mativia. County Commission, Alan Ward has graciously accepted to do that. Now, I do need somebody for the Commercial Revolving Loan Committee. Can you explain that, Diane?
Yes, it's for our loan pool. If somebody wants to borrow money from our loan pool, we have a committee that goes over the application, and then a recommendation is made to council. And we always have a council representative on that loan board, and Mark Lunt was the liaison member. So now that Mark's not here, we need to have somebody.
I need a volunteer.
When do they meet?
Only when somebody wants to borrow money from the town, so.
Do it.
I think we've only met once since I've been
You
here
were my
as
office
manager.
in that regard, because you got the financial background too.
I'm doing it.
You only need one, right?
Only one, yeah.
Only one.
Who is it gonna be?
Norm Albert.
Norm
Norm?
Albert. And this one, it's not on here, but I've got the other list, on the planning board. I'm on it as a liaison, and, I plan on staying on it. And basically what it is anybody else that wants to go, don't have to.
We had 3 of us the other night.
Yeah. The Water Commission and the Planning Board, the ones that I go to unwind. Huh? Is that it, Diane?
You guys
for
fed
that?
us. You guys fed us.
On the 9th.
I'm not
at
used to that.
5:30. February 9th at 5:30. I'll send you the agenda.
Do we have anybody on the library governing board? Diane?
I don't think that, this isn't for the council, I don't believe.
Okay.
No, all this stuff actually,
No.
this goes out to that portal where it's all
Right.
updated, so it's just coming from that master
Yeah,
list,
okay.
right?
The assessment review board, is there a counselor that's
Only if you choose to.
Don't really, we got
If we need to do
enough.
any more, I'll get back to you
Okay.
on that. It's the ones up above or the,
Okay. Okay, any questions? Okay, next item, 12.
Is council communications.
Don't really have too much, I just, hope you three can help us immensely with the school budget, so we don't have a major catastrophe like we had last year. I do not want that.
I mean, if you want it, we can recap last night's to hit the highlights. Norm's got them right there. Why don't you go through the bullets? Can you read my handwriting on the bullets?
Oh, sure I can.
Okay.
Maybe.
If you, yeah, if Cassie's got the same bullets.
Yeah. Well, which ones do you have?
Yeah, I can't read your writing now. I'm gonna let you have
All
that.
right, all right.
They budgeted the insurance costs at
9%.
9%. This year it ended up coming in, I believe they said at like 3 or 3.5%.
And that won't be known until the end of March,
Right.
at best.
And pretty much everything was, anywhere that there was an increase, it was in, salaries, insurance, and benefits, for the most part.
I'm sure we're gonna get them very detailed here shortly, so.
Yeah, we do. And the module that Rick presented last night, they just heard from state, they're looking at a $500,000 reduction from the revenue sharing. There are 2 positions that were cut last year. They're in this model right now for at least what they can see to actually get into the discussion. That's the community relations coordinator position and the
It was the 4th grade teacher position, but
Teaching
they're
position.
putting that at a lower grade because of the class sizes for pre-K and kindergarten.
There's no fund balance consideration. There's no energy savings considered. There's no capital reserve use currently considered. And there's an error in the actual presentation with some of the fringe that they're just going to go back and massage. That was
why-
where they're at.
You might want to share the last page, and you want to let them know what the budget was, or you,
Oh, you did the high cut to the number? I was going to glazer it over that one, Eric. Where?
and I think there might be an error on the comparison from last year's budget. They showed 15.4, which it was actually 15.1.
280.
So the number that he's comparing last year's budget with doesn't match with what we actually budgeted last year. So there's quite a difference.
Right now, the number is 648,000 increase. That's everything at this point. The comparison to last, I
Right,
didn't
but
get.
what I'm saying is
I
last
get
year,
that. I haven't.
It was 15.1, now they're looking at it's almost $1 million increase if you,
Right. Highly prelim at this point is the point.
Well, there was some issues with FICA payments and
I'm
stuff
just
like that.
making the
No,
correction
I
on
think
what
it's-
last year's budget was.
Yeah, I didn't
think-
catch the number.
I think it's great that it's good that we're all involved. I'm glad, Eric, to hear that you grabbed that number up, and I think it's important that we're all kind of got our eyes on it. I think there's no good reason why we wouldn't all come in with our eyes wide open on this one. The other thing I think it's pretty exciting is that we're all in the same place. I think we want to work to try to make sure that this season doesn't look anything like last.
I do want to say that this year, as far as the municipal side goes, that we are having some major reconstruction, huge reconstruction in town, and we're going to have some matching grants money for it. So that's going to be put in perspective. This is a one-time deal for us, and it's something that the town will benefit for years and years and years down the road. So,
Sure.
okay. Next item.
Is executive session, order 2016, 26, and 27, to go into executive session per 1 MRSA, section 405-6A, personnel matters, and section 405-6C, acquisition of real property.
there will be a vote afterwards.
Huh?
You might want to mention that
Okay,
there
there
will
will not be a vote afterwards.
Oops.
Almost.
It would be good.
System.
Okay.
You have a
Do we,
motion.
I need a motion.
Yes, we
Okay,
do.
I need a motion to, go into executive.
Motion.
And
Second.
second it.
Oh, you beat me to it. Okay.
I got nothing.
We'll just stay in here.
Just
We're
gonna
not going
stay in
anywhere,
here.
we're staying right here.
Yeah.
All those in
Wanna get up?
favor?
I'm getting, yeah, I'm gonna get up for a minute here.
Hands up.
All those
Hands up.
opposed? Okay, 7-0.
7-0.
Yep. 8 PM. So you're staying here, did you say?
Okay.
Nico with
Try this thing off.
Yeah, she was a wonderful lady.
They're peanut?
Peanut butter.
Peanut, let me try.
I do it great, I got it.